The most successful predators are those who make their victims believe they are friends. There are people walking among us, people who smile, shake hands, and look you directly in the eye, who do not feel what you feel. They don't feel guilt. They don't feel remorse. They don't feel love. They mirror emotions they cannot experience. They imitate compassion they do not possess. They win trust they have no intention of honoring. And once they have you where they want you, once they've infiltrated your mind, your emotions, your life, they will take whatever they came for, without hesitation, without conscience, and without a single moment of regret. Psychopaths are human predators. They coerce, manipulate, and deceive with terrifying ease. They steal, abuse, and destroy lives, not in moments of uncontrolled rage, but with cold, calculated precision. They blend in so well that most people never recognize them until it's too late. Dr. Robert Hare, one of the world's leading experts on psychopathy, estimates that at least 1 in 100 people is a psychopath. Clinical psychologist Martha Stout suggests the number could be as high as 1 in 25. That means, statistically, you've already met one. Maybe you've even worked for one, dated one, trusted one, and you never saw them coming. Psychopaths aren't just lurking in the shadows, committing crimes in dark alleyways. They are in boardrooms, in politics, in leadership positions. Wherever power is concentrated, they thrive in systems where manipulation is rewarded, where charm disguises cruelty, and where their lack of conscience is mistaken for strength. In this video, we'll tear away the mask of sanity, exposing how psychopaths think, how they operate, and most importantly, how you can protect yourself before you become their next victim. Compared with other major clinical disorders, little systematic research has been devoted to psychopathy, even though it is responsible for far more social distress and disruption than all other psychiatric disorders combined. Psychopaths are found in every segment of society, and there is a good chance that you will have a painful or humiliating encounter with one. Your best defense is to understand the nature of these human predators. When most people think of psychopaths, names like Ted Bundy, Charles Manson, or Jeffrey Dahmer come to mind. While these individuals were indeed psychopathic, they represent the extreme end of the spectrum. Most psychopaths do not commit violent crimes. Instead, they engage in immoral and destructive behaviors that often go unnoticed by the legal system. They manipulate and emotionally abuse family members. They exploit others financially, lie compulsively, and deceive for personal gain. They see people not as individuals with feelings, but as tools to be used and discarded. As Martha Stout explains in The Sociopath Next Door, many people know nothing about this disorder, or if they do, they think only in terms of people who have conspicuously broken the law many times over and who, if caught, will be imprisoned. Most psychopaths are not incarcerated. They are out here in the world with you and me. The reason most of us do not exploit or harm others is because we possess a conscience. We empathize with suffering, and if we cause harm, we feel guilt. Psychopaths, however, lack both conscience and empathy. They do not experience love, friendship, or any genuine emotional connection to others. If they maintain relationships, it is only because they view people as possessions, resources to be controlled, manipulated, and used to serve their own interests. This emotional void at the core of a psychopath makes them capable of repeatedly harming others, without hesitation, without remorse. Even experienced and case-hardened professionals find it unnerving when they see a psychopath's reaction to a gut-wrenching event, or listen to him or her casually describe a brutal offense as if an apple had been peeled or a fish gutted. The psychopath is a self-centered, callous, and remorseless person, profoundly lacking in empathy and the ability to form warm, emotional relationships with others, a person who functions without the restraints of conscience. If you think about it, you will realize that what is missing in this picture are the very qualities that allow human beings to live in social harmony. Lacking the emotional depth that gives life meaning for most people, the psychopath's inner world is ruled by the pleasure principle and an insatiable need for stimulation. Many psychopaths turn to alcohol, drugs, sex, or reckless behavior to satisfy this craving. But the ultimate thrill for a psychopath is power. Regardless of their position, whether a career criminal, an unemployed freeloader, a middle manager, a CEO, a financier, a bureaucrat, or a politician, the psychopath's mind is obsessed with control. As Martha Stout puts it, the prize to be won can run the gamut from world domination to a free lunch, but it is always the same game: controlling, making others jump, winning. Robert Hare shares a chilling psychological assessment of a psychopath named Earl. The most salient thing about Earl is his obsession with absolute power. He values people only insofar as they bend to his will or can be coerced or manipulated into doing what he wants. He constantly sizes up his prospects for exploiting people and situations. While we see psychopathy as a severe mental disorder, psychopaths themselves feel no such burden. Many openly regard their condition as an advantage. To them, their lack of emotional ties and their inability to feel empathy or guilt are strengths, giving them a ruthless edge in what they perceive as a dog-eat-dog world. Ted Bundy once dismissed guilt as nothing more than an unhealthy social control mechanism that does terrible things to the body. Since psychopaths see their condition as an advantage, it's no surprise that attempts to rehabilitate them fail miserably. Summarizing the research on psychopathy treatment, Robert Hare explains, "Many writers on the subject have commented that the shortest chapter in any book on psychopathy should be the one on treatment. A one-sentence conclusion such as, 'No effective treatment has been found,' or 'Nothing works,' is the common wrap-up to scholarly reviews of the literature." To make matters worse, psychopaths are notoriously difficult to identify. Though they are radically different from us on the inside, outwardly they blend in, concealing their predatory nature behind what psychiatrist Hervey Cleckley called a mask of sanity. Like predators in the wild that mimic their prey, psychopaths imitate human emotions and behaviors to gain trust and avoid detection. Psychologist Daniel Jones, in his article Snake in the Grass, offers a chilling analogy. There are spiders in Australia that smell and behave like ants. Some are so convincing that the ants will allow a spider to live permanently as one of them. This spider will then feast upon its new friends, but it won't eat all the ants, or even a significant number. Instead, it extracts resources slowly, sustainably, and over time. Psychopaths operate the same way, integrating into social circles, building relationships, and exploiting others over time, all while remaining hidden in plain sight. Like the Australian spider, psychopaths often appear normal. In fact, they are frequently more charismatic, charming, and confident than the average person. This social allure stems partly from the fact that psychopaths experience far less stress, fear, and anxiety than the rest of us. But it is also due to their extraordinary ability to lie, fabricating their past, their achievements, and even their character in ways that mesmerize and psychologically disarm their victims. As Martha Stout describes in The Sociopath Next Door, "Most of the victims I have known in my work have reported that their initial involvement with a psychopathic person and their continued association, even though she or he caused them pain, was a direct result of how charming she or he could be. Countless times I have watched people shake their heads and make statements such as, 'He was the most charming person I ever met,' or 'I felt like I'd known her forever,' or 'He had an energy about him that other people just don't have.' However, there are cracks in the psychopath's mask of sanity. One of the most obvious is their pathologically inflated sense of self-importance, which they struggle to conceal. As Robert Hare explains, psychopaths have a narcissistic and grossly inflated view of their self-worth and importance, a truly astounding egocentricity and sense of entitlement, and see themselves as the center of the universe, as superior beings who are justified in living according to their own rules. Another telltale sign lies in their eyes. Many victims report that looking into a psychopath's eyes is like staring into the gaze of a reptile, cold, intense, unsettling, and unchanging, no matter their mood. This eerie resemblance between the eyes of a psychopath and the eyes of a reptile is one of the origins of the modern myth that a race of reptilian humanoids secretly walks among us. Some people respond to the emotionless stare of the psychopath with considerable discomfort, almost as if they feel like potential prey in the presence of a predator. Others may be completely overwhelmed and intimidated, perhaps even controlled, with little insight into what is happening to them. Whatever the psychological meaning of their gaze, it is clear that intense eye contact is an important factor in the ability of some psychopaths to manipulate and dominate others. Another way to see through the psychopath's mask of sanity is to pay close attention to how they speak. Psychopaths often struggle to maintain a coherent narrative. Their statements are riddled with contradictions and inconsistencies. They frequently jump between unrelated topics, and when asked a direct question, their responses are often irrelevant or evasive. As Robert Hare explains in Without Conscience, psychopaths are notorious for not answering the question posed them, or for answering in a way that seems unresponsive to the question. Another peculiar trait is their exaggerated hand movements. Some researchers believe these gestures are a result of how psychopaths' brains process words, ideas, and emotions, but they also serve a more practical function: deception. By using dramatic hand motions, they distract their listeners, making it harder to spot their lies and inconsistencies. Regarding one particular case, Hare observed, his narrative was accompanied by expansive hand movements and exaggerated facial expressions, a dramatic display that blinded our interviewer to what was happening. The root cause of psychopathy remains unknown, but research suggests that psychopaths are born with a predisposition to psychopathy rather than shaped by their environment. As Martha Stout notes, there is no convincing body of findings linking the core characteristic of psychopathy, that is, the absence of conscience, with childhood maltreatment. In fact, there is some evidence that psychopaths are influenced less by their early experience than are non-psychopaths. While psychopaths have always existed, their impact is amplified by modern political trends. Governments are expanding their control into more aspects of daily life. Global institutions are attempting to impose a single system of governance on the entire world. Advancements in technology are paving the way for a level of totalitarian surveillance and control unlike anything seen before. In an age where power is becoming more concentrated, the risks of psychopathy infiltrating the highest levels of society have never been greater. Because psychopaths crave power, possess natural charisma, are skilled liars, and are unburdened by empathy, fear, anxiety, or guilt, it is logical to assume that many of them gravitate toward or are actively placed in positions of political authority. Polish psychiatrist Andrzej Łobachewski, in his book Political Ponerology, coined the term pathocracy to describe a system of government in which psychopaths rule. If more people do not become aware of this predatory class, such a system could become an inescapable reality. Łobachewski explains, I shall accept the denomination of pathocracy for a system of government, wherein a small pathological minority takes control over a society of normal people. If an individual in a position of political power is a psychopath, he or she can create an epidemic of psychopathology in people who are not essentially psychopathic. Under such conditions, no area of social life can develop normally, whether in economics, culture, science, technology, administration, etc. Pathocracy progressively paralyzes everything. When psychopaths gain control of a system, they corrupt every aspect of it, turning governance into a predatory enterprise that exists not to serve the people, but to exploit them.